slavery.
I can't imagine like leaving your comfort zone for another man's country where you will be treated like a slave or you will not be welcome. What do you have in place to travel?
A warm welcome to NTA Lagos Channel 10 News at 7. It's actually a special edition where we track stories making the rounds during the week, and of course, military coup in some African countries. The Minority Caucus of the House of Representatives has registered in strong terms its displeasure at the growing trend of what it calls military adventurism in the continent. In a statement, leader of the House of Representatives Caucus, Kingsley Chinda, notes that military incursion in some African countries is worrisome, rolling back the gains of democratic gains, struggles for return to civil rule in the 80s and 1990s. While condemning military coup in Sudan, Mali, Tunisia, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Niger Republic, and recently Gabon, the House Minority Caucus observed that these countries are in the western, northern, and central regions of Africa, which represent more than half of the entire continent. It urges all leaders in Africa to pursue and enthrone good governance as the only panacea towards arresting military interruption of constitutional democracy in parts of the continent. The federal government has recalled the Nigerian ambassador to the United Kingdom, Ambassador Sharafa Ishola, over tenure expiration. A letter by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, indicates that by this communication, the ambassador is now expected to commence the process of winding down his affairs and take formal leave of his host government within 60 days and to return to Nigeria by 31st October 2023. The minister extended the president's appreciation and thanked him for his exemplary leadership and service to the nation, as well as prayed for continued guidance in his tenure endeavors. The federal government has resolved to encourage and improve funding for local research of new drugs and vaccines in line with the renewed Hope Agenda on Health. Coordinating Minister of Health, Professor Muhammad Ali Pate, said this at an event to mark the 2023 African Traditional Medicine Week in Abuja. Basi Ita Ipang reports.
Recognition of the significance of African traditional medicine and its integral role in enhancing health and well-being across the African traditional medicine in the growth of the health sector. The Minister of Health represented revealed government's intention for the sector.
Our approach to optimizing the strength of our traditional medicine will also focus on favorable policies, institutional and political support, our rich biodiversity, qualitative data, scientific research, and the use of innovation to optimize the contribution of traditional medicine to universal health coverage.
In 60s or 70s, when you are president traditional medicine, he will tell you that no, I will not depart because they are trying to steal my knowledge. But for today, the traditional medicine has gone to a certain level whereby the WHO has recognized that 85 to 90% of the world population today depend on traditional medicine. So
WHO and other development partners noted that traditional medicine remains an embodiment of the African entity, resilience, and heritage. Approximately 80% of the population seeks solace in traditional medicine for fundamental health needs.
African traditional medicine, deeply intertwined with indigenous herbalism and rooted in the tapestry of African spirituality and culture, stands as a beacon of accessibility, affordability, and trust for millions across our continent.
this year's theme, the contribution of traditional medicine to holistic health and well-being for all, took the center stage at inaugural 2023 WHO Traditional Medicine Global Summit held in India. The forum activated political and evidence-based action, traditional medicine as a first port of call for millions of people worldwide to address their health needs. Basi Taipa, NTA News.
Time to take a look at stories that made the rounds during the week. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has continued discussion with leaders within Africa and around the world towards checking what has been described as a contagious autocracy in Africa. Following the latest coup in Gabon, President Tinubu had a telephone conversation with the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on possible next step.
The two heads of state mutually agreed that the promotion and protection of a paramount priority, and that the people of Africa living in the diaspora around the world, making a huge impact to the socio-political landscapes of countries around the world and the economies of countries around the world, continue to urge on the...
Now, the Lagos State government has set September 4th as the date for the commencement of full commercial operations of the Blue Line train service from Marina to Mile 2. Regulators of the Blue Line, Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, LAMATA, disclosed this at a media interactive forum in Lagos. The report.
Since the first phase of the 13-kilometer Blue Line rail system was inaugurated in January this year by former President Muhammadu Buhari, Lagos residents have waited patiently for the day the train service will commence full commercial operation.
Lagos State government is set to commence commercial train service next month. However, they need to inform the passengers of operational modalities of the Blue Line necessitated this event.
Managing Director of LAMATA, Abimbola Akinjo, hinted that one of the challenges that hindered the Blue Line takeoff has been deployment of substantial electricity, since the train will operate on energized track.
We are not utilizing the electric power to power the trains that we're starting with. That system, that electric system will come on in 4 ways. So the message that do not cross the track is pertinent.
The event presented a platform to educate residents on operational modalities.
I said we're starting with 12 trips. But when we get to full ramp up, we will do, even with just our 3 rolling stock sets, we will be doing 76 trips a day. At Marina and Mile 2, the trains will be stopping for no more than 5 minutes. When the train gets to any station, it will stop for no more than 90 seconds.
Although only the Cowrie card grants access into the train, passengers will however enjoy 50% discount in line with the transport palliative recently announced by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Control centers have been established at the train stations to check unauthorized access and possible vandalism. In Lagos,
Lagos State government is concerned about the continued rejection of gunshot and accident victims by medical facilities in some parts of the metropolis. This necessitated the Sensitization Forum on Compulsory Treatment and Care for Gunshot and Accident Victims Law 2017 by the Ministry of Justice in Lagos. The report. And his late brother, Ebenezer, were victims of armed robbery attack in 2021 in Ibadan.
The first hospital I went to, they rejected us because it was a gunshot wound, you understand, and the second one too.
Late Ebenezer Ayeni was shot barely 2 weeks to his wedding. A refusal by 2 medical centers to admit him for treatment without a police report led to his untimely death. The need for synergy among stakeholders to understand their roles in the Compulsory Treatment for Gunshot and Accident Victims Act, signed into law in 2017 by former President Muhammadu Buhari,
was the basis for the forum.
It's very, very important that we channel all our energy to make sure that people who are victims of gunshot or fatal injury, I always get appalled when I see victim of accident. You see people taking picture. You will not see people calling the ambulance, and I'm like, sort of, society are we becoming? Are we becoming less insensitive to human feelings?
The law allows medical practitioners to treat gunshot victims before getting police report. Assistant Inspector General of Police, Zone 2, was represented.
We have made it a point of lecture to some of our men that safety of life is much more important. So the medical teams, when they bring a victim of gunshot to the hospital, they're supposed to be attended to first. When they get well, they can now get back to the police. We also encourage the NGO, the civil society organization, to write petitions, to write a complaint where there's this issue of a gunshot or there's this issue of a negligence not taken care of.
The sensitization platform also discussed funding the medical expenses of indigent victims.
What have been my greatest worries about these indigent victims and the protection of victims who are treated, and Lagos State have taken care of that. That's a milestone for me. And the police who have been hiding have come up now to say that yes, we are not harassing people anymore. So I'm hopeful.
Only 2 states, Lagos and Rivers, have domesticated the compulsory treatment for gunshot and accident victims law of 2017 across the country. In Lagos, most.
Time now for a quick break. When we come back, it will be time for our discussion segment on the news. Stay with us.
NTA Parliament is a dedicated 24-hour channel that broadcasts activities of the Nigerian Senate, Federal House of Representatives, and all the 36 state houses of assembly. NTA Parliament, strengthening Nigeria's democracy.
Segment today is on Isheshe Festival, a traditional religion that celebrates the deities. We have a guest in the studio to tell us all about it. But first, let's take a look at this report on the significance of Isheshe.
African traditional religion is an ancient religion which holds culture in high esteem.
Where our forefathers are coming from the what we may agree, it is a belief that we will consult the oracle, and it is the oracle that will lead them where they are going to settle down. And it is this tradition that will lead to the process of making their leaders, the leadership of the town and the community.
Every year, traditional religion worshippers come together to celebrate the Isheshe Festival. The occasion is filled with rich cultural display.
Importance of Isheshe. It is vital because it is our roots. It is the oldest religion for mankind. God is the creator of the deities through which we communicate.
African traditional religion is dedicated to right from home, from our father, our mother, our ancestors, our deities, our beliefs, our ancestors' beliefs that they used to connected with the Almighty Olodumare.
If you look at our society today, nobody cares, nobody worries. people run after all these Western practices and culture, which has not been going well for us. If not for these people that are still holding the news, we would have forgotten everything. Let's go back to our culture, our religion, our ways of life, our clothing, and all the rest. And how if we go back to what we have and we promote and project them, how it can be a good revenue for the country.
Religion stands upright to the commandment of Olodumare through Orunmila and the holy book of Ifa.
All right, we have our guest in the studio, and he is Otumba Lekon Ajirotutu, is an Isheshe adherent. Otumba, it's nice to have you on the news at 7.
It's a pleasure to be with you too.
All right, a lot of things have been said about Isheshe and what it is or what. I want you to set the record straight. What is Isheshe?
Yes, Isheshe is our ways of life as Africans. Is everything about an African man is Isheshe. Even from your date of birth, the very day you were born, some things will take place. That is Isheshe. Then our hobbyship institution is Isheshe. Our religion, our culture. That's why I said our ways of living, our food, because Isheshe means heritage, legacy, tradition. So everything about us is Isheshe. That is our ways of life. Even our marriage, burial, every other thing. Burial rights, all things about African man is Isheshe, is tradition, is culture, even our ways of dressing.
All right. Some people have come to say that when you talk about herbalist, you talk about Babalawo and all those people who consider fetish practices. Is there any correlation with Isheshe among all those things?
Yes and no. Because people are mixing it up. There's a huge difference between Babalawo and herbalist. Herbalist means herb specialist. That is, those people making use of herbs for healing or for any purposes. And when you are an herbalist, it doesn't portray your religion. You can be a Muslim, you can be Christian, you can be a traditionalist. Taking for instance, you go to the market where they sell herbs, you know, even the people, the sellers, from their mode of dressing, you know these people belong to this religion. So then, when people used to miss, most especially those on radio and probably on television, when you see a news line, an herbalist cut with human head, the translation is Mobaurel or Babalawo. We don't know difference between Babalawo and Ifa and herbalist. I've told you what herbalist means, but Ifa priest. Ifa priest is that person that has taken his time to study Ifa corpus. We have 256 books of Ifa, and each book contains 16 chapters upward. So you must be versed in that Ifa literature before you could be referred to as Babalawo. So when you just say anybody say is Babalawo because he practices herbal medicine, that's why the mixing is. And when you do that, you do not really, to give Babalawo the exact meaning, if you go into your dictionary, Imam means Imam in dictionary. You now explain further Muslim clerics. So Babalawo should be better translated or explained as Ifa priest. Ifa priest. And these are the ways to really differentiate Babalawo and herbalist. Otherwise, you mix it up.
All right. In other words, Isheshe actually accommodates Ifa priest and herbalist. That's what you're saying. Yes. All right. Let's go further now because of time constraints. Let's take a look at the custodians of Isheshe. Who are really custodians?
Yes. Custodians of Isheshe, that is our cultural tradition, they are the practitioners of these arts. Like, you see, the masqueraders, the Babalawos, the Oshun devotees, Shango devotees, and so on. But not limited to those areas. Even our obas, our kings, they are custodian of our culture and tradition. But some of them, because they are hypocritical, they want to tell you, no, I'm not a custodian of this Ifa or Odisha. but they have forgotten that they are deceiving themselves and probably deceiving their subjects. Because when they want to install them as Oba, it was not, they are not installed by Chief Imam or by a Reverend Father. That was done, and even in Ikpebi, can they tell us what happened in that Ikpebi? So, but when they come out, they'll be deceiving themselves. Will religion allow you to be, that somebody of your father's age will lie down prostrate flat to honor you? Islam and Christianity does not reference that. But that is our tradition. So how do you now, why can't you forgo the beaded cap you put on, which is satanic cap, and go and you wait until when you get to heaven or paradise or Al-Jannah and take the heavenly crown? So we are deceiving ourselves. But these are the custodians, the others are custodians of this culture. Even there are government establishments meant for this purpose as well. Taking for instance, National Council for Art and Culture, Museum and Monuments, National Institute for Cultural Orientation, and so on and so forth. So there are many. But because we want to now take the entertainment aspect of it and forgo the religious aspect of it. Like, if you're expecting a guest for the whole nation now, you don't go and bring masqueraders, the masquerade to perform, but when later you say, no, I'm not for this. But when you want to exhibit our culture, you exhibit our culture, our religion. But when you want to avoid being tagged with that religion, you know, we're only interested in the entertainment aspect of it.
Okay, as we wind down, what does Isheshe preach? What are the preachings of Isheshe?
Yes, Isheshe, the major thing that Isheshe preached to everybody, either the practitioners or other people out there, is peace, to maintain peace. And to make you know that actually Isheshe people are lovers of peace. Isheshe is the first on the land. This is our Africa. We practice Isheshe. Later, Christianity, Islam, they came and we embraced them. You can never see a traditionalist fighting other religious practitioner. But they fight themselves, and at times they fight the Isheshe people. They call them Panadebore. You cannot eliminate the traditional practice. Even the whole world, even the Western world are now embracing traditional religion. Go and see the right.
Okay, so in other words, Isheshe preaches peace,
love,
tolerance, and all those positive things. Yes. Otumba Lekan Jigo's tweet. This time I'm going to say many thanks for coming on news at 7.
Is that all right?
It's been informative and educative. Thank you very much for coming on the news. All right, moving on now. The Minister of Sports, John Eno, has promised to give attention to all sports, not a selected few. This was at a meeting with stakeholders in the industry, where he sought collaboration for the development of the sector in Nigeria. Kehinde Lamidi witnessed the event in Lagos and filed this report.
It is a convergence of stakeholders in the nation's sports industry, and the purpose is an inaugural meeting with the new Minister of Sport, John Eno. Sharing the plans and strategy for his tenure, the minister highlighted the twofold agenda to include facilities and sport development at the grassroots, with a view to discovering budding talents to be nurtured to stardom. He identified major challenges militating against the development of sports in Nigeria to include lack of adequate financing and trust deficit among stakeholders. John Eno, who emphasized that athletes' welfare will be top priority, promised an opened-up policy and involvement of the private sector. He enjoined the media to partner with the ministry in developing the sector through objective, balanced, and positive reportage.
It is going to depend on me as Minister of Sports Development. I'm going to be transparent, and I'm going to be open, and I'm going to be clear and communicate. So this is important. We need to fix trust.
Some stakeholders spoke to NC Sports on their opinion of the minister's vision.
He has an understanding of what the major problems are. Okay? And when you want to solve any problem, you need to understand that problem first before you can apply some solutions. So the next thing for him to do now is to find solutions to those problems.
He has a lot of ideas. He has shown that he has the capacity, that the Nigerians have been looking for. We may not have known him in the past. He may not have had that pedigree of having anything to do with sports in the past, but I think he has so much more to give.
started very well and let him start working his stock, because we have a lot of people who have spoken like him, and at the end of the day, they didn't show anything. But it sounds different, it looks different, but tomorrow we'll tell exactly what plans he has for Nigerian sports.
Others suggested ways to move the sector forward.
I tasked him about the sport and facility development that's just going to do, and a grassroots development, especially athlete welfare, and just proper and adequate for our old legends. That's probably try to do something for them. So I'm very interested in that.
That women's football is a gold mine that we're sitting on, and so it's very important that we ensure that we clean house before the next FIFA tournament, the next Women's World Cup, and that the ladies know that they're appreciated.
With the passion demonstrated by the sports minister to develop the sector, stakeholders expressed their readiness to support him in achieving the set targets. In Lagos is B. Kehinde Lamidi reporting for NTA Sports.
Sports Updates rounds up news at 7. Many thanks for watching. I am Musa Toliat.